Not royalty.
Hey, man.
What's
Long time no see.
What's up, brother?
We are joined by Sean Porter, newly retired. Has it sunk in yet that you're retired? Because last time we spoke, it hadn't sunk in.
Nah, I mean, it's starting to sink in a little bit more now. Everybody, coach over there just said you should retire. And, you know, I think that he said you make the decision you want to make, but if you ask me, keep going, you know. So I'm really, man, at the end of the day, I feel very honored that people have thought this much of me to say, hey, keep going, or say, hey, great job, Hall of Fame career, all of these things. I never knew any of this was coming my way. You know, I just was doing what my dad was asking me to do, and we were just doing the best we could to make it to the top.
You definitely done?
Yeah.
You definitly done?
Yeah.
You definitely done?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, you know, people keep saying to me, you know, maybe you should quit, and I'm like, yeah. So, you know.
Boxers are notorious for coming out of retirement. I'm sure that's somewhere deep
It was
down
the
there.
fastest retirement in history.
The fastest retirement in history.
I'm done. I'm back.
Quick story, and I'm being completely honest. I saw Barry Sanders, football player, NFL football player. He retired, and I was confused. He had just set records and everything. Why did he retire? He retired when he wanted to. And I always said that. I thought it would be football. I always said that I was going to retire like Barry Sanders, kind of like just in the night. You didn't know what was going to happen. And I felt like, you know, even though I knew that this was coming, this was the best way for me to do it was at that point when somebody asked me, hey, what's next? For me to sit back and say, you know what, as a matter of fact, I'm done with this part of my life, but I am going to do some other things, and you guys this won't be the last time you see me on film, you know,
How
on
difficult
TV.
is it, Sean, for a fighter to walk away? Because you live for the sport,
Yeah.
you live for the occasion,
Yeah.
the ring walk, the
Yeah.
fight, everything associated with
Yeah.
it. But is it about having peace of mind where you can look up on the wall at the World Championship belts, the videos of so many great fights, and say, I'm happy?
You know what? I'm
happy.
not sure. I thought about the ring walk. I was like, it's the last time I'm going to do it. I love being in a locker room before the fight. It's the last time I'm going to do it. Like all of that, you know. So I do. I think that a lot of fighters, they're afraid to let that go. They're afraid that they're going to miss it. They're afraid that it's too soon. All of those things. For me, I feel that things are in line for me outside of the boxing ring for me to be okay with everything that I've done in the ring, and I won't miss it as much as most guys do.
And I want to get your thoughts on this matchup on Saturday night. But before we do, we're talking about this retirement. We had a conversation a few days after your official retirement, your fight with Terrence Crawford. Something really interesting, I thought. You actually considered retirement after you fought Errol Spence,
Yeah.
right? Because Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, I mean, they're two of the best welterweights in the world, as are you, of course.
Yeah.
Why did you think about retirement after you fought Spence?
You know what? It's a true story. When Spence was coming up and people were starting to say, you know, give him a shot. He should be fighting Keith Thurman. He should be fighting Sean Porter and all that. And people were coming to me, you know, why won't you fight Errol Spence Jr.? I said, you know what? As soon as he gets a belt, I'll fight Errol. He's just got to get a belt. Once he gets a belt, I'll fight him. And it took about maybe 3 or 4 more fights for him to get that belt. But in that time, I said, that kid's special. That dude is something else. I was like, I think he's the best welterweight in the world besides me. And after I fight him, I'm done. I don't care how long it takes. But once he gets his belt, you better hope you see me in the ring with everybody else you wanted to see me in the ring with, because after Errol, I'm done. He goes over to England. He fights Kell. I'm sitting there. When Kell stopped, I stood up. I put my hands in my pocket. I said, all right, this is it. So I've had plans for myself for a very long time. After I fought Errol, I said, he's not the best in the world. And I identified who I felt was the next best guy, and it was Terrence, and here I am.
Is he the best, Terrence?
Terrence is the best welterweight in the world. Yep.
Errol Spence had a fantastic performance against Kell Brook. So we spoke again also about this. You just mentioned Terrence Crawford
Yeah.
and Errol Spence.
Yeah.
You have the unique position, one of the few human beings on planet Earth who's been in a ring with both of them.
Yeah.
Your prediction if they fought tomorrow?
I really hope that people don't have to live that fight through me. I will say that. But I think that this is what I've said. I stand firm in this. Terrence Crawford has a little bit more in his arsenal than Errol Spence Jr. has. I think that he has the combination of boxing and intellect and also power and aggression that's required to beat someone like Errol Spence Jr. And then on the other side of that, well, what can Errol do to counter that? It's a very close fight. It's a very good fight. Just think that that's a fight that Terrence Crawford would edge out.
Do you feel as well as with everything that's happened to Errol Spence, with the car crash, obviously the eye injury as well. Terence hasn't, you know, he's fresh. I know he's mid-30s, but he's fresh, isn't he? He's not had the injuries. He's not really had the tough fight.
That's the other thing you can say about the fight between myself and Terence. We both, neither of us had any injuries at all. Neither of us had, you know, fights that kept us in the hospital or anything like that. We were both the top of our game. You know what I mean? You can't say the same about Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford. It's no secret what Errol's been through, and you have to, it sucks that you have to speculate, but you can't help but wonder if those things are going to hold him back from being 100% in the ring on fight night.
Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, Shawn Porter, some of the best fighters at welterweight. Let's talk about some of the best fighters at lightweight. We saw an amazing matchup 4 days ago, Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. And, of course, Devin the Dream Haney is in action on Saturday night. He's taking on Jojo Diaz. Your thoughts on Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz? How do you see that fight playing out?
You know, I really do think that this is bull and matador. This is cat and mouse. I wouldn't be surprised to see Devin try to sit in there and bang a little bit. He's a competitor. He's very competitive in the boxing ring. But I think that his speed and his quickness, his range, his jab, I think it leads him to victory. Jojo's not going to take any steps back. He's not going to quit. And, you know, I think it will be competitive, but I think that it's going to go, it'll be a little bit more one-sided, if anything.
So let's say Devin Haney, and this is just hypothetical because as we saw a few days ago, you never know what's going to happen.
Never know.
Let's say Devin Haney does get by Jojo Diaz. George Kambosos is now the man at lightweight, right? He's got all the belts. And he has said, hey, you want these belts? You got to come to Australia. You were talking about Errol Spence going to Kell Brook's area to face him and get that opportunity for a strap for himself. Would you advise Devin Haney to take that trip and have a chance to become the undisputed lightweight champion and go to Australia?
I would. There's a new wave going around, and the new wave is I don't care that I'm young. The new wave is I don't care I don't have 20 and I'm not 20-0 with 20 KOs. Put me in the ring with the best. I'm going to beat the best. I'm going to show you. You got a lot of young guys now who want to be in the ring with the best fighters in the world. They want to be world champion. And you, my man, will never take that away from any young fighter. No. And I appreciate that about you. A lot of managers and promoters, they got to start giving these guys a shot. We're asking for it. We want it. Give it to us. Let us prove you wrong. And even if we're wrong, we showed you the effort and we showed you that we have what it takes. Don't put us in the back of the bus just because we got 1-0. We can still do what we do. It just happened on that night, you know. So
we were talking earlier about Shakur Stevenson, and like that, I feel like if Shakur hadn't pushed for all these big fights, he's a guy that you probably could have given another 6, 7, 8 fights to before he's doing. Now he's going in and beating everybody so easily. You know, these young guys have got so much talent. Let them go. You know, if the trainer and the fighter and they truly believe they're ready, let them go. Let them do it, because as Sean said, a defeat at that stage in their career doesn't really mean anything. It's about making great fights, and a lot of these young fighters are so talented.
100%. We talked about it. It's like the Porter way. I called it a blueprint. You called it a standard. That's certainly true. We just saw Jessica McCaskill in the ring, okay? Undisputed at welterweight. She took her opportunity against Katie Taylor. No shame at all in taking your opportunity and losing to someone as great as Katie Taylor. Then she comes back, takes out Cecilia Breikhaus, defends that belt, right? That's kind of the Porter way, right? Facing all the top competitors, and sometimes you have success, sometimes you don't, but you're willing to face the best.
Yeah, you know what? That's kind of the niche that the UFC has. The UFC has a niche of putting the best against the best, and regardless of the record. But I think that the separation there is the world knows about those fighters when they are undefeated, and they know about those fighters when they're very young in their careers. And again, that wave is happening now where because of social media and because of everything else going on in the world now, you know about these young guys much sooner than you did, you know, in 2012 or 13 when I was coming up, you know. So they're using social media now to their advantage. And then on the other side of that is, you know, you cannot be afraid to step up with the understanding that, hey, my career's on the line, but my reputation's on the line, and who I am is going to be on the line. And I want people to see who I am at the end of this night. And I think that at least worked for me, and I hope that it works for everybody else moving forward. I think that I've gotten a lot of respect because I've showed who I am time in and time out.
Absolutely.
100%. You've gotten so much respect. And you absolutely deserve 1,000,000% congratulations on a fantastic retirement, fantastic career. We were talking about the game plan for young fighters. There's so many young undefeated fighters on this card. What also comes with young fighters is comparison. So Ammo Williams, a lot of people are comparing him to maybe a young Errol Spence. Devin Haney, a lot of people are saying he's on pace to where Floyd Mayweather was.
Yeah.
And fighting here probably solidifies that or makes those comparisons even louder. Yeah. What do you think about that in terms of a young fighter being compared to another fighter? Is that a good thing for that young fighter, or does that add some extra pressure?
Well, you know what? I think it's a good thing. I think that, think about it, the world knows Mayweather's name. So if you include Devin Haney's name with Floyd Mayweather, how many fans are you going to pick up? How many people are you going to get to watch this fight that wouldn't normally watch this fight? You know, so I think that there's advantages there. The main thing I think in that is just to protect the fighters. Make sure that they understand that even though people are comparing you to Floyd Mayweather, you are Devin Haney. Be Devin Haney. Don't try to be Floyd Mayweather.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is too pretty. Here is Montana Love.
There you go, not far from you.
Yeah, no, this is Cleveland's finest, man. Believe it or not, I knew him when he was about 6 or 7 years old, before he could box.
Really?
Yeah, and he was a badass, and he's still a badass.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I watched him on the Jake Paul card. I didn't know hardly anything about Montana Love, and I saw him ice Barancic in front of his hometown crowd, and I was like, we got to sign this kid. Yeah, I love him. You know, he stood on those ropes, and you know.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys did
another
sign
great
him.
example of how boxing saves someone.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, 100%. He, I don't want to tell his story for him, but to say the least, he has been through it all. I know that he lost his mom a few years ago, even, and you know he's been through it all. You see this right here. This is him. This is a character, and you have to appreciate the character in Montana Love. Montana is from the hard streets of Cleveland, Ohio. LeBron James said it best. In Cleveland, nothing is given. Everything is earned. And, you know, with that Barancic fight, I think he earned the right to be here tonight.
Absolutely.
He was introduced to the sport of boxing by his mother at the age of 6. And just 3 months after her passing, he turned professional in 2015. And talk about seizing your opportunity. He was on a big card that a lot of people watched. And now he's here, and he has absolutely turned his life around, and he has now so many opportunities, and a lot of people are going to know the name Montana Love going forward. Very excited to see what he can do, and we're going to see Montana Love getting loose there.
I'm a bit nervous that the dog could potentially go to the toilet on the ring. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
I hope that doesn't happen.
I mean, let's hope he's well trained.
Sean Porter, you've been so generous with your time. Before I let you go, I want to ask your thoughts on what we saw a few days ago in Madison Square Garden. I can't let you leave without getting your thoughts. Of course, Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos. Kambosos was the underdog, pulled off the upset, knocked down young Teofimo in round 1. And actually, what we were talking about earlier is Kambosos also had a strong end of the fight as well. What were your thoughts on that fight?
That fight was supposed to be on Triller, I believe, back in like May. I'm sorry if I
June,
said that.
June.
That brand, and I wasn't supposed to.
That's no problem.
I was scheduled to be on the telecast of that, so I studied Kambosos. And when I looked at George, I said, this is not an easy fight for Lopez. This should be a really good fight. You can see some holes, but not very many. He's a lot like Lopez, you know, if we want to be real. Very explosive, very quick, very fast, uses his jab, and the list goes on from there. And so I said, man, this is going to be a competitive fight. Fight takes forever for you to get it. And once the fight starts, I said, this is no surprise to me that George is putting it down the way that he put it down. If he really took a look at what he could do, you wouldn't be surprised at what happened the other night. Of course, you do have to take into account that Lopez may not have been the exact place he should have been mentally, but you know, you can't take any of that away from George. I think George, even after he got knocked down in the 10th round, I said, man, I think this Australian's going to give it up. And he maintained his composure, he kept it together, and he finished the fight. And he did everything he needed to do to even finish the fight, winning rounds after getting put down.
That was the most amazing thing. I thought he was gone in the 10th. I thought it was over.
Yeah.
To come back and win 11th and 12th was incredible. Yeah,
which would have been, I think, for the sake of words, would have been more so like typical Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah.
To just somehow, some way pull that out in fantastic form. And George would not allow that. I love the fact that he's saying, hey, come to Australia to take these belts from me, and I would love to see Devin Haney go over there and at least attempt to do it.
Montana Love getting warmed up in the ring. I mean, it looks like he's in a great place mentally. He's turned his life completely around.
Yeah.
We were talking about last week in terms of being there mentally. I mean, there's been reports now about what Teofimo was dealing with. It was the longest inactivity of his career, 1 year and 1 month. He did have COVID in June, which pushed it back. But Sean, the importance of, as a fighter, just being there physically, but also mentally. I mean, Teofimo, he had financial issues. He had to go through a separation from his partner. I mean, you've been in this fight game for such a long time. Being there emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that's probably just as important, if not as important as being there physically, right?
It is. Everything has to connect for a fighter at this level, at the world championship level. Everything has to connect, and it has to connect for 36 minutes. And if something's missing through the course of that night, you will see it. And I think that in retrospect, we did see some signs of Teo not being all there mentally and maybe even emotionally. We can see at the early part of the fight, he was very wound up, and he was, gunning for a knockout. Number one thing I think that's required in this game is the intelligence and the mental state has to be at the correct level. If it's not, then you won't perform the way you need to, and you won't get the result you want.
Sean Porter, I want to thank you so much for your time, for joining us. Best of luck in retirement.
Hope
to talk to you soon.
Yeah, hope to talk to you real soon. How about
that? Yes.